I don't know what to do. Well, all right. What's your name?
Big Tommy Burns. Yeah, Big Tommy Burns, Beast of the Bay Strongman Club, all that good jazz.
Yeah, I know you through body work and wellness stuff, but what are your big three?
My big three for me in my personal life is clarity, courage, and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are the tenets that I follow. Those are the tenets that I just want to exude, man, and give off to anybody that's around me.
Yeah. All right. So clarity. What brings you clarity?
What brings me clarity? Intuition. Intuition. I'm a big believer in following like your gut, right? So whether it leads to a desired outcome or not, I've learned in life is not really as important as the journey and what it's trying to reveal for you, right? Yeah. So clarity comes from me following my intuition, following the insights that I get, the visions that I see before they are an actual reality, and just going after them.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So this time we're moving into winter, and I've been working with. I just put out this stillness course, and it's all about sitting and feeling. And I don't know if we take enough time to just feel. Kind of. I do a practice where it's like I'll literally sit down, I'll write a few things down, and then I'll just kind of think about that, and I'll literally feel what it does to my body when I think about it, and it kind of tells me. So let's talk about your Beast of the Bay, because when I first met you, you were starting. Okay, so when we think entrepreneur, we always think tech, but go. What do you do?
Yeah, so Beast of the Bay, man. So that's my baby. I'm getting ready to. We just talked about me and my wife were expecting a little boy to come over in February, but the first baby is definitely Beast of the Bay.
Yeah.
And my wife is very happy with that because she allows me to go out and continue to nurture the baby every single week and every single day. But Beast of the Bay is. It started out in 2016, and I'm fairly new to the Northern California area. Been living here about 6 years. I moved here from the Washington, D.C. area, and it is a strongman community that's just growing and taking on a life form of its own. And when I moved here, I couldn't find competitions in the local area to compete in, so I had to go way up north to compete or way down south to compete. There was nothing right here in our own backyard, but I would see some of the same faces that I've seen in the Bay Area or Northern California at these same competitions, whether it was up north, down south, or across the country. Yep. And I thought it would be cool to put on our own competition and just see what happens. And that's what we started. We started out in 2017, we had 12 athletes show up, 16 signed up, 12 showed up for that first competition. And the next year we put on another one, it grew to 26 athletes. And the next year we put on another one, it grew to 104 athletes. And it's now just taking on a life form of its own.
All right, here's what I like about strongman. I'm a body worker, I'm a yogi, and some of the people with the best range of motion are strongmen, not powerlifters, right? Strongmen. And also, the other reason why everyone should know strongmen is because you guys will actually volunteer to help people move.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you always got a truck because you always got to carry your stuff around.
You always got to carry heavy shit.
And you guys love carrying anything upstairs, especially if it's weird shaped and it's heavy. Yeah. All right. So what's the difference between strongman? What is strongman?
Strongman is literally finding whatever you feel is a challenge in your environment, and learning to move efficiently with it. Okay.
All right. I think about you guys all the time. As you can see, there's speakers behind that thing over there. There's a lot of speakers. I had to break down a studio and all stuff. And I mean, honestly, I secretly called you over here to just get you to get all this shit upstairs for me. But I don't need you anymore, man. But like this old stuff from the 60s, you know, it's like 90 pounds per amp,
yeah.
you know, and it's nothing to you. You're like more in the 400, 500 thing. But yeah, you guys just pick up stones and, okay, you were talking about getting people your community, your big three, what? Clarity,
Courage,
confidence. Okay. So let's talk another thing that you're amazing at, which is community. And you were talking about getting people together in this time, and you started like Strongman Saturdays or whatever, and y'all were just getting together in parking lots and like pushing cars and just lifting things.
So interestingly enough, so when I talk about my personal big three, clarity, courage, and confidence, those are personalized to me and what I desire to, like I said, what I desire to exude throughout life, but also the energy that I want people to feel when they're around me. And throughout this time, what I've learned in this process of not only just starting something in Strongman, but also building, you know, it went quickly from just having competitions to looking around to see who wanted to be involved, to actually growing like a family. Right? And so it quickly moved to its own level of just intimacy with people that would come around, and you would learn, or I would learn, who really wanted to add more value to what was already established at the foundational level. And so some of those people would of course give feedback and not constructive criticism, not necessarily complaints, and there's a very unique difference, right? So constructive feedback and criticism, and always volunteering, always willing to help out. So those are the people that I start to look for to spend time with, to ask their ideas, to invite into this world with me. And before I knew it, there was other people who was like, oh, you guys are doing that? Well, I want to do that too. I want to try it out. And before we knew it, there was more people. And so when we talk about clarity, courage, and confidence, the people that started to come with me with that feedback and that insight, and they wanted to add more value, those are the things I wanted to see from them as well. So I had to ask them those same questions about what did they want to like be clear on in life, what did they want to achieve, what were they having a hard time, you know, what was stopping them from achieving what they wanted to achieve. And so with that, it would allow me to serve them in a way that went beyond just the competition, that went beyond just helping train athletes or train clients or put on shows or things like that.
You guys have a good group there. I work on a lot of people in your group, and when people think strongman, they think people like you, giants. But I don't think we know, just like with one of my favorite questions is, you may think, but really? So like, you may think strongman is a bunch of giant strong men, but actually some of the most devoted people you have are just women over the age of 40, in their 50s, and they're killing it. They're killing it, and makes them strong, and they're total geeks, and they're just, they go. I mean, you know what I mean? It's funny. So how many women are you training right now?
Training, it's a handful of them training, but that routinely come out and consistently compete. I mean, it's growing. The last competition that we had last month, we had 19 athletes, and I would say almost half were women.
Yeah, it's extremely welcoming. You guys, I got into roller skating, and it's a very nice group of people. And strongman people, very nice group of people. And this goes to one of my favorite quotes. All right, so you had your big three, and I'm going to balance onto that to what we were talking about earlier, thoughts, words, and actions, right? Because with courage, with confidence, with clarity, it kind of should resonate through your thoughts, words, and actions. And the thing I love about what y'all do is in our world now of where you can exist around your edited legend of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's something very beautiful about the phrase, there's no truth according to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're according to the truth. And when you guys put 500 pounds on your shoulders and you bring your butt down to your heels, you can either stand up or you can't. You know, and it's
That's
like,
it.
it's thoughts, words, and actions. Like you have to think it. You got to say, put 500 pounds on it, and then you kind of have to do it. It's a yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's, I think, such an important place to be right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it lets us know where we are,
Yeah.
but it also lets us know where we could grow to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because just because you don't hit the 500 pounds at that moment doesn't mean that it's finite, and that's absolutely
you never will. Yeah.
right. And so that's a big part of that's a huge part actually of what we build within the community.
Mm-hmm.
Is that challenge, but also being willing to grow.
Yeah.
Right. So challenging ourselves in a moment, but being safe enough to know, okay, I ain't got 500 of you today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in a month or 2 or 3 or maybe 6 months or maybe a year.
Yeah.
Right? If I keep coming at it from the right angle with the right programming, staying healthy, staying safe, right, with my body, then I know eventually I'll hit this 500.
Yeah.
And that's my benchmark.
So the thing I liked about what was going on, there was so many people during the quarantine, they're just like, I can't get a kettlebell, I can't get this, because everything's sold out. Everyone's like, I got to work at home.
Right.
And then you just see you guys, you're just like, who cares? Push a car uphill.
That's it.
You
That's
and 2 of your
it.
friends
That's
push that
it.
thing. Oh, you can't push it? Get a friend to help you. Now you know what I mean? And it was super funny how, and that's what Strongman is. It's just like, it's like, imagine you're just living on a farm with a bunch of rocks and pieces of wood that need to get over the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the year 1695, and so the tractor hasn't been invented, and your mule just died.
Right. But the job needs to get done, right?
Yeah, it's basically you guys.
And it's a training. So so the way that the Strongman Club started this year in COVID was a gentleman that I trained who started off in a journey, wanted to just get in shape, wanted to lose some weight, get in shape, and had a very great interest in strongman in the beginning. So we sat down during his assessment and we would geek out over different strongman stats and athletes and things like that, which was rare, considering the general population that I trained. Nobody really knew about strongman, and so when they see me doing it, that was it, right? They were amazed at me pulling trucks and lifting stones, but for this guy, he wanted to do it, and so I've been training with this guy for over a year, and we finally go into COVID, and I'm doing online training as best as I can through Zoom. I'm a very hands-on type person. In person is my thing, so learning this new skill set, right?
Yeah.
But there's only so much that we could do. And so he's like, well, I'm gonna go out to this parking lot and I'm gonna push my car, me and my wife. I said, okay. So he goes out on a Saturday and goes out and pushes his car with just his wife. And his wife is recording him as he's pushing the car. And then he sends it out to me. And then he posts it on social media. And the next thing you know is there's this is in Hayward, California. Next thing you know, somebody in Modesto is posting up a video of them pushing their car.
Yeah.
And then somebody in Sacramento is posting up a video of them pushing their car. And so for me, what I bring to the table is lighter fluid and glue.
Yeah.
If there's a fire,
and
I have interest in it, I bring lighter fluid. That's who I am.
Yeah.
If there are pieces that I'm interested in and they are there, I bring glue to bring it all together.
Yeah.
And so seeing that very first time, I automatically knew that there was something that needed to happen. That not only could this be big as in participants and people coming out and numbers, but this could be big as in people need this right now more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And so that's what moved me. That's what moved me when I say it wasn't just about the workouts, or it wasn't just about the training, or for me it wasn't just about a place to have a relief and release, and there's all those things to a lot of people for whatever it needs to be. But for me, it became a place where I seen people needed to come together and experience the competition and the challenge, but also the camaraderie and the community of it.
Yeah, the thing I'm not an athlete at all. I don't like athletic things, and I needed something to get. But I do movement and all this stuff for a living, and technically, I've been in some very extremely athletic environments most of my life. But the thing that turned me off was, like, if you put me in a team and you say that I have to beat this person, I'm not into it. In martial arts, it's different because, there is fighting, but you're still trying to cultivate and learn how to use something under stress. So there's like a cultivation of yourself. The thing I love about you guys is there is, like, if you and I were competing, you might win. I'm going to assume you can squat more than me. But, like, I also have my personal record. So, like, when I'm going against, how much you weigh?
350.
350. How big are you? How tall are you?
6'4".
6'4", 350. I'm average male, 5'9", 155. But if I'm going up against a guy like you, I'm going to push myself so hard, I'm probably going to get my personal best. And so even though, like, I lost miserably, I'm still going to be like, I broke my own. You know what I mean? There's still like your record, and then there's the competition, and sometimes that competition will push you beyond your. And I really like, and that's what I like about competition. I don't like it to you're going in spite of me. You know what I mean? I don't like that. And then the other thing that I've noticed about strongmen is you'll be right there with me. Like, I've never seen strongmen like trying to go against the guy. They're competing with this person, but that person is pushing. So they're the fighter. So I love that about you guys.
I love to call it, when people come to the Strongman Club, we open up and we have our sayings about what we're going to lift that day. We do our demonstrations, right? But then there's always a spiel about the culture of this place. Yeah. Because to me, culture is the most important thing when you're growing or building anything. Whether it's family, a business, a community, culture is it, right? And so people have to get tired of you saying what the culture is and seeing you live the culture in order for the culture to be strong. And then a part of our culture is this is the place where camaraderie meets competition. And so if you're here just to prove your dominance over somebody, this probably won't be the best environment for you. And that's not saying that that's good or bad, right or wrong. There are other environments that other groups, other environments that that's their core values. But for us, that's not it. Right? And so I'm like you. Growing up, because of my size, I've always been thought of as an athlete, but I wasn't an athlete growing up, right? So I've always been influenced or asked to play sports. I didn't start playing football until I was in the 11th grade. Didn't even watch football before that, right? So, and just like you, if somebody said, like, competition, like you have to beat, I'm like, okay, I have to beat, but it wasn't a switch for me. Like, proving my dominance over. I was always a person that wanted to be, like, bringing people together. Yeah,
we're stronger together. I hate to break it to people. Hate to break it to you. I mean, and that's how is it training people in something that you do? Because I mean, I'm not even really training many people online, but I don't have to spot anyone. I mean, how's that? How are you getting around that? Like if you're training me online, strongman, I mean, how do I do? I mean, I guess it's just go down weight and you're just watching my form, like. Yeah,
that's literally that's literally what it is. It's like making sure that the weight is good enough for a challenge, but safe enough that you could kind of self-spot. right?
Yeah.
And then getting to a place where people would come and be a part of the Strongman Saturday, so we could challenge it a little bit more,
Yeah.
right? So we get that in-person contact and feel. And it's interesting. A part of the culture that we build is you talked about how if you're competing with somebody or up with somebody and they finish or do better, how they then turn around and encourage you, right? So that's a big part of what we do is making sure that we don't just tolerate one another, right? Celebration is huge, and like you talked about those personal records and those personal bests that you experience. Just because it's not 500 pounds doesn't mean that it's not big, right?
Yeah.
And so we turn around, so we actually started doing, borrowed this from a friend, but the PR bell, we used to have it in the gym, and so now we just bring it out to Saturdays, where if anybody finished, a personal best or personal record, they go up and ring the bell, and then everybody, the key is once they hear the bell, everybody will stop what they're doing and just celebrate.
Yeah.
Right? And so imagine that level of energy and that level of camaraderie. And then the energy of the spotters in that environment is just as intense as the athletes. And so another piece of the culture is if you're up and I'm spotting, I'm just as in the lift as you are.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not, somebody can get hurt, I can get hurt, right? But a big piece of it is you need my energy more than I need my energy in order to achieve this lift. And we all celebrate together.
Stunt guys are like that. Stunt guys are really like that.
I can imagine.
To make sure. For example, I remember there was this moment where me and the stunt coordinator, he was, I don't know, having a bad day or whatever. And his only instruction to me was, he just kind of looked at me and I was like, what am I doing? Because I wasn't supposed to do the stunt. And then what happened was they ended up putting me on the stunt anyway. And they had worked something out with someone else. Now I'm having to do it. So my only instruction was, don't fuck it up. That's it. He was mad, just pissed off, and next thing I'm standing there and I'm like kind of afraid, just like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I know I was supposed to like smash into a piano, right? And I just look around and like I'm up on this big, it's not a big platform, it's like a stage, like this high. And I look around and I just look down and all the stunt guys are tugging on my pants. They're going, and they're just there with you the entire time. And you're like, oh yeah. And then like their energy helps you, and they're just like, have fun, and it almost became, and then it became the joke. Like every time anyone would do something, we look at me, don't fuck it up. And it kind of became the yeah. What are you gonna do? I'm not gonna fuck it up. Let's do this. But so you gotta own it and make levity inside that heaviness of pushing yourself, and I loved it. All right, so what brings you confidence? What is this? It's confidence.
Yeah, so the confidence comes from, and it's for me, it's been the last piece of that big three puzzle. First for me was the clarity, and then once I see something and being able to see it, I'm able to go out and start doing it. Yeah. Right. The courage is actually taking the risk to actually act, to actually execute, in spite of or despite the results. Right. Yeah. We were talking earlier about the intuition, whether it leads you to a place of the desired outcome or not. Yeah. The biggest thing is the journey and the learning and who you become throughout that time. Like you can't go back and undo who you become in that time. That's what the courage piece is. Yeah. Now the confidence piece comes in is that after you've done a thing over and over and over again, probably like stunts or working with people, finally you get to a place where you're like, okay, if I think it, it's going to get done. Yeah. If it comes up for me, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Right? And you get to a place where if you've been like me, man, and you've had to fight to get to that place of having confidence in yourself, like self-esteem and self-worth and self-value and those type of things, like you've really had to fight it throughout your life to get to that place, then you get to a place where you say, it's going to get done, whether there's people with me or not, whether I have the resources or not, whether I have the team or not. Like, it's just going to get done because I wouldn't see it if it wasn't supposed to get done.
Okay, so this is a good thing to talk about. I've spoken to so many strongmen, and and a big thing around when we talk about like emotions and it's like the emotional intelligence. Like, you guys got to be really, really, really emotionally intelligent because you're, in many ways, like, guys your size are not allowed to get really mad. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's a funny thing because, like, I've learned a lot because I suffered from a lot of rage and all this other stuff, and I actually learned a lot about how to handle that from, like, men that were very, it's like, where do you put it? And I was able to put it in the dojo and in training and all these other things, and you guys have your community, how is that? Like, it's an interesting thing, like, talking to a lot of big guys about that, about being so big. Like, you're not allowed to get mad around us, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I felt that I owed it to my community, because I was around a lot of big dudes, to be really strong, because I'm like, you can go off as hard as you want, I'm fine. And I realized, like, that's got to be an interesting place for guys your size, because, like, normally if you just raise your voice, everyone's like, whoa, this guy's about to go, and like, you don't have any place to go. Like, yeah.
And so you, it's so interesting because I talked and have talked with lots of guys about their, once you start to lose the desire to train, and work out. So I've been training and working out 20 plus years, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I talk to guys that are in my age range and they've been training and things. And so once they start to lose that desire to train, and a lot of it comes to a lot of their life starting to come together in places that it wasn't before.
Okay.
Right? And so with that comes not having the outlet to express yourself once you do have these frustrations of life or anxieties of life, these angst of life that build up, and if not addressed, then all of a sudden other places in life start to tear down, right? And it's so it is very fascinating to have that as a big guy, as you call me, a giant, right?
Yeah.
One of the giants of life. But it really doesn't. I guess it's one of those things where you live with it so long where you don't really think about it. But I know one thing: if we walked into a bar, you'd probably be the safest guy in the bar. Not because, I'm there and I'm going to protect her, but everybody's thinking about how they're going to take this big 350 pound. Well, if something happens, what am I going to do? What chair am I going to pick up? Yeah.
Okay, so I remember so I did this course on situational mindfulness, and it's all about seeing anomalies. What a lot of people don't really think about. I was a bouncer and all sorts of stuff, and I remember when guys like you would walk in, like, I know a lot of really large men, and they would get jumped a lot because they were anomalies. Like, you stick out, and then there's always the person that wants to dominate, and then they see you and you're threatening to them, and then they would go off and they would try to jump them or something later than their friends would. And that was interesting. But I remember this one night, all these guys ran these dudes out, and I'm sitting there, and they're big dudes, and they were just moving people out the door, and I was just standing at the door making sure they didn't come back in. And they were gonna beat me up. Like, so all the big guys leave, and then the other dudes are like, oh, now the little guy's here, so then they're gonna rip me up. And in that time, this giant hand goes across this guy's chest. I mean, just covers the whole guy's chest. And this giant man looks down and he goes, hey, man. And he goes, don't ever mess with the little bouncer. He goes, don't do it. And he just kind of looks over at me, and he's like, you know some shit, don't you know what I mean? It's kind of in this whole, but it's really funny on how like this giant angel just like boom stops the guy right. And I was like, thank you, giant angel. But yeah, you guys stick out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And there's a meekness that comes with that. You know, a responsibility that comes with it as well. But then there's some people who don't care, right? And we have those outliers. And I know for me, it's been a great positive for me being who I am and being what I love to do, because a lot of people that intimidation factor is immediately there initially, right? Yeah. But because I was always the big guy who went into different places and gyms and when you smile and see me doing something, 4 plates or 5 plates on the bench, you smile, I would smile back. If you said hi, I would say hello. Or I would say hello before you did. Right? And so that always led to a place where, again, I was always gathering people and bringing people together. So regardless of where I was in the country, where I lived in the country, what gym I was in, I would always find myself, this is before I actually took up training as a profession, before I started coaching and training as a profession, and in fitness, I was in school systems. So I worked in education. I would be, working with kids and love kids throughout the day, but that work could be very exhausting. So I would need to go to the gym and spend 2 hours in the gym. But I would find myself training about 5 to 10 people, not for money at all, not charging at all, but just because people wanted to be around again, that energy, right? Because you had that the vision. I was very clear on who I was and what I was there. I wasn't there to compete with anybody. I was there to get better, and I wanted to share that.
What about, okay, so you work with kids. How long?
Let's see, for about 5 years.
That's going to help you a lot now that you have little tiny beasts.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, I work with a lot of kids, have worked with a lot of kids, and I don't have children, don't want children. But it took away my fear of having kids. Because I used to think that they needed all this stuff, and then you had to, but really I realized, like, just walk to school with them and give them some dirt, and they're kind of killing it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like stay present but stay out of their way, this kind of thing. And so that's it. Your kid, have you decided on a name?
Yes. So we just had the baby shower last month and the reveal of the name. We kept it a secret up to the baby shower, so everybody knew the initials MBB, but nobody knew the name. So everybody was texting and sending messages of all these different names. So his name is Maverick Bear Burns.
All right.
Maverick Bear Burns. And so the bear is my spirit animal, as you probably can imagine. But also my grandmother, my father's mother, she's a full-blood Cherokee and Potawatomi. And so she would call me Little Muckwa when I was younger. And Muckwa in the languages means bear.
Yeah. Okay, and when is he due? When is little Maverick coming at us?
First week of February. My wife thinks he's going to come a week early, so she's saying that it's probably going to be the last week of January, but first week of February. I think he's just a big baby. So
he's gonna be ready to come out. Are you excited?
Super excited, super nervous. Super, like I go through a range of emotions when I'm not there trying to, be everything for my wife that she needs, trying to anticipate those needs and soothe those emotions that come up. But yes, going through a range of emotions, excitement, nervousness. I think about, sometimes I think about this phase of life and I think, man, this is our first kid, and so we'll never have this with us just again. And my wife talks about that all the time. Like, man, it'll never just be us, again, moving forward.
Let's talk about courage. How does tapping into this courage feel different than, because it seems like I've had to tap into my courage before, but I don't have it to tap into that courage yet for, I don't have anyone in my life that gives me that, but like, how does it feel differently this form of courage, having a child versus?
Man, it's yeah. So naturally, I'm like a protector, and you know, from who I am. But for me, just thinking about the world, not even that we just live in today, but just the world. Period. It brings another level of that protector out, that encourager, and I don't want to be so overwhelming that, you know, I'm sheltering, you know, this little human from what they're supposed to experience in life. But you know, everything else, it makes me think about him and her, my wife, before everything else. Right. So it's been one thing to go throughout my life and be the person that eventually grew enough confidence to say, you know what, I'll be all right regardless. Whether I have, whether I don't have, whether things are going well or not well. You know, I could sleep in my truck if I need to, if I could, like, but then to have yourself attached to another person, right? My wife, or now our kid, it brings up a whole nother level of responsibility and a whole nother level of protection and a whole nother level of, you know, nurturing. And
I met you and I'm like, yeah, what'd you do yesterday? And you're like, got married. That was it. I met you the day after you got married.
Yeah.
And, that's crazy. All right, so when you're training, do you listen to music?
Oh yeah.
How old are you?
36.
36. Okay. Okay, cool. Your year of the monkey.
Sure.
Your year of the monkey. All right, you're 30. What kind of music do you listen to when you train?
Man, I am old school to my heart.
Okay.
So lots of old school, lots of funk music, Funkadelics, and the Gap Band.
Okay.
So most of the time is that, or it's gospel music.
Oh,
particularly, you know, God rest his soul, the gentleman just passed away named Rance Allen. So I would, it's funny. So I was in the competition in Virginia in 2016. So I was living now here in Northern California, flew back across the country to compete at the place where I got started competing, because they had a competition there. And some friends, you know, were there, and the story goes that, of course I learned this after the fact, where I'm in the zone, have my headphones on, and I'm getting in the zone and getting ready, right? I think we're getting ready to go for At the Stones, the 5th event of the whole competition. I'm getting ready, and then I learned afterwards that everybody was like, I wonder what he's listening to.
Okay.
Right? And one of my best friends, he says, I bet it's nothing that anybody expects. I bet you he's listening to Rance Allen.
Yeah. So Rance, R-A-N-C-E?
Yep.
Rance Allen. All right. I was a huge fan of the Staple Singers. I love them. And then there's the only modern gospel guy that I knew. It blows my mind live. This guy, Ty Tribbett. You ever seen that dude?
Ty, yeah.
Every situation I face, I win. It's like, dude, that guy is ridiculous. And here's the thing that I learned from gospel. Okay, like for example, if I need you to sing along, like I have this video that I made about like building a sing-along, and I was telling you I wrote songs, and I would try to get sing-alongs going on all the time. But like I learned this from gospel guys. Like they don't go sing along with me and they sing. They would just say like, they would literally like just play, every situation I face I win, and then they were like, every situation, you know, they'd say it real fast and you have to sing. They're just telling you what to sing, and I love that. Like Ty Tribbett was so good at that.
Oh yeah.
Was born. You know, he's so good at that. Oh man, yeah. So modern gospel is. It's just too many. The drums are a little too wild sometimes for me, but like, it's starting to clean up. The hip hop is cleaning it up again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so you're listening to that. I want to take you in here and what have you been doing for your, like, to balance yourself out, for your mind, for your for your spirit. What else?
Just personal meditation.
Okay.
Breath work.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you, because I know I've been showing showing Dave like a lot of yoga stuff, but like with you, how is your body? Like, how are you doing with your stretching and all that stuff?
Stretching almost non-existent.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'll do some stretching. I would say probably once or twice a week,
Yeah.
if that. But I need to be doing it every day, especially.
But what you guys do is so full range of motion a lot of time, and except for the carrying stuff. But like, I mean, every time I work with strong guys, it's like you guys can do like full squats, hands overhead. You know, like really, really interesting frames.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people will be like, "Oh, these big guys, they can't move," and I'm like, "No, you move better than you." You know, it's like big break. Like what's that, Gabe? I mean, Gabe. You guys doing muscle ups and crazy. I mean, it's crazy that guy's range of motion. Like all of y'all. I mean, Gabe's huge. I should get him in here one day too.
330.
Yeah.
Just a big muscle.
Yeah. Just typing and playing with his cat.
Right.
What were you doing before the Beast of the Bay?
Before, I was competing myself, and then I was working in the school system.
Yeah.
So
what were you
I
doing
worked
in the school system?
School system, so I was a program director and dean of students for continuation school.
Okay.
So all of the kids would get kicked out of public school because of behavioral, situations or, emotional situations, whatever it was. They get kicked out of public school or can't handle it. They would come to the school that I worked with or worked at. And, our team, the goal was to, I would simply say, was to prepare, empower, and equip them to be more successful once they went back to, public school setting. And we did that pretty good. It was another place where I found myself gathering people, building culture, building community, and it was fascinating because a lot of times, students that are, special education students for whatever reason, whether it's behavioral issues or learning, disabilities or what, they're outliers. I know when I worked in the public school, these were the kids that you didn't want to deal with. Yeah. Right? But they were also the kids that I found myself gravitating to.
Yeah, I always liked those kids.
Yeah. So, and I know that because I was one of those kids. I wasn't a kid that had a lot of like behavioral issues or any like outward, like you wasn't going to be in harm's way when you're around me. I wasn't going to cuss people out. Like I was the nice kid, but inside there was things that I needed that wasn't peaked or wasn't, that just wasn't nurtured until much later on in life. Yeah. And so I knew what it was. I knew what it was like to be those kids, to come, whether it was a kid that, come from a very affluent background, their parents and family did well and they were having behavioral issues because they didn't know anything else except getting their way, or whether it was being a kid like me who was from the hood, who knew what it was like just to live in survival mode because that's what we grew up in and that's what we were accustomed to. So all these kids had different experiences, and it allowed me to learn not just how to work with the kids, but also how to work with a team in serving and supporting these kids. And I think that was the biggest opening, like highlight of my life when we started talking about confidence. It allowed me to know that not only could I lead myself, but I could actually lead other people to go through that process of having a clear vision for themselves, to take the risks to move toward that vision, whether it's a desired outcome or not, and then to finally have the confidence to know that you are enough to get it done, to really do what you set out to do. And so that's why I started seeing that is in that setting as we supported these kids, and some amazing things happened in that time, man. I remember getting to the school, and the school they used to call, when I went through training, they used to call this particular site that I was going to be at, they used to call it the prison.
Oh, yeah.
That's fascinating. You know, I'll take all these mental notes and sell it. I said, oh, fascinating. And I would go and visit the site, and kids would be doing their things, you know. Staff would be trying to support, and it would be pretty chaotic. And I would just take my mental note. Oh, it's fascinating, right?
Yeah.
And man, once we got there, so this was actually, you know, a place where it would get so dangerous, where kids routinely would, you know, hit staff and all that type of stuff. And so there was a hands-on facility where, you know, if kids got up to that level where you would have to go into a hands-on mode with students. So of course, coming from public school system and then coming to this place, I'm like, what they call the prison.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Interesting, right? And so once we got into the work there, and we really started to see a lot of the things that were happening, but also a lot of the things that I knew that I felt that I could bring to that place. We started to see the amount of students just out of class. We started to see that dissipate.
Yeah.
We started to see the amount of times where there was had to be hands placed on because a student was getting very violent or whatever. We started to see those numbers start to decline drastically, right? And a lot of it wasn't necessarily because anything had changed. The students didn't change. The only thing that changed was those three things.
Yeah.
We had a clear vision. We had courage to know that we could move forward, you know, in this vision of what we wanted to achieve, and then having the confidence to know that we could produce this result together.
I think a lot of times when I learned that when I work with youngins, I could literally just be like, all right, everybody, what we're going to do today is we're going to walk over there. And then once you get over there, we're just going to fist bump each other, and then we're just going to walk over here. And when we walk over here, I'm going to snap my fingers. And then literally, as long as we just stand up, walk over there, fist bump each other, and then walk over there, and I'm going to snap my fingers. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's okay. And then we can start moving, right? Because, you know, and one of the reasons why I kind of wasn't into working in the school system anymore is so many teachers and adults would go in and they would start talking to the kids about how the system is broken, and then all the kids are like, well, why the hell am I here? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, yeah, sure, the system's broken, but it's the system, but it doesn't mean, I mean, it's kind of like the world could be messed up too, but the way that we interact, this is what we can control. So this isn't broken. We can be as solid, we could be a stone in the craziest river possible as long as we have this, right? And I think, and so that's important. You know, it's like, yeah, of course this is messed up. Life is chaos and life is uncertain. So train yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what I want. You know, it's kind of.
And you build that structure.
Yeah.
And then you bring the consistency.
Yeah.
Right? And those kids, same kids.
Okay.
They felt safe in an environment where there was structure and consistency, and they would start going to class more.
Yeah.
They would start engaging in, you know, the process more. Whereas before they were off the wall, you know, off the wall and, you know, doing anything they wanted to, and they felt like that was freedom and that was life because I could show you how big I am, how bad I could be. Man, after, you know, a few years of working in that environment, some of the stories that we were able to generate and build with some of those kids of who had, you know, we worked with kids that had been kicked out of 10 schools before and had never been successful. And they never imagined that they would be successful. And all of a sudden they get to this place, and it's different because it was almost like there was a no matter what there. And for me, I've learned that in my life, that I've learned to be, as Gandhi would say, you have to be the change in the world that you want to see. On the end of that, what people don't see is no matter what. If you want to see change, you have to be no matter what at the end of whatever that is.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, but, right? There's so much of that happening, and you know, I like the way you said that, because it's one of those moments where everything, Mike Tyson said, you know, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? We all have this righteous, or everyone knows everything, and there's not one moment where someone, if you look on the conversations that we have, we're all saying the same thing all the time, but it's how you respond under stress, under uncertainty, when you're in survival mode. That's the moment. Let's pump you up a little bit. What are you guys doing for this quarantine? Because you just had a competition. Where was it?
Last competition. This was in Concord, California.
Okay.
It was at a gym that just opened up this year called the Resistance Gym.
Okay.
And this competition was Static Monster. So this is a worldwide competition where every location that's participating in Static Monsters this year, the Static Monsters worldwide event, they're doing it the same weekend. So there was almost 1,000 athletes all over the world competing on the same weekend in 2 events. The log press, which is, some people have actual, logs where there's lumber, and then there's metal logs as well that's been fabricated and created. And then the deadlift event, where you take a bar from the ground to a lockout position where you're standing. And those are the 2 events for Static Monsters worldwide. It's a great place for people to start off if they're interested in strongman and wanted to just see how they do. And we had 19 athletes compete at that event. We talked about half of those athletes were women, but what was beautiful about it is the first time that we did Static Monsters was 2019. We had 5 athletes there. 2019. 2020, during a pandemic, we have 19 athletes.
Okay.
Right? So almost 4 times as many people come out and be a part of this thing. Now, what was beautiful about that number is that more than half of those people were new to strongman, meaning that this was their first exposure to actually competing in strongman. And that's where we specialize, is getting people exposed to this. I think a lot of people have either, around our generation, they've watched it growing up on TV, whether it was, somebody put on a plane and it just looks, cool, to talk to kids that are 18 and under right now. They watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're like, man, I seen this on YouTube. And that was a paradigm shift for me too, to not hear people say, I watched it on TV too.
Yeah.
I watched it on YouTube, right? I watch this all the time on YouTube. And so there's a very large market of people that I believe are willing to try it. They want to try it, but there just hasn't been an outlet for them to actually do that. So one of the very next things that I'll personally be working on is building these kind of like pop-up strongman communities and helping people to lead their communities in these different places. So right now we have the Strongman Club in the Bay Area, and we have the Strongman Club, a chapter in Sacramento as well. So these 2 are running simultaneously and going at the same time. Strongman Saturday at 11 o'clock, and every week, like clockwork, people are showing up in Sacramento, about, a dozen people, and maybe 2 dozen people showing up in the Bay Area, and just having fun, man, enjoying the community, enjoying the culture, enjoying the camaraderie.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And where can we find you?
You can find me on any social media, Facebook, Instagram. Everything is at Big Tommy Burns. You can go to the website, www.beastsofthebaystrength.com. TikTok as well, for our new...
Oh yeah, that's where you lip sync?
Yeah.
That's where you always lip sync? If you were to lip sync a song right now, which, by the way, I'm no way condoning lip syncing, because I feel that for some reason we think lip syncing is art. But is there a song that you could lip sync like crazy?
Probably Journey. Don't Stop Believing. Yeah.
Just a small time. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay, I love that line of Singer in a Smoky Room. Yeah. Okay. I would love to do. 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. That's my girl. And that's one of my favorite songs.
That's some good stuff.
In the world of longevity, because my heart is always in keeping people, I don't care about training anyone. I care about teaching us how to train as long as possible. And you mentioned the log. And the log, actually, a lot of its roots come from the stuff that I do. They call it the Suntala. It's the Persian stuff. And so they have different moves. They don't go as heavy, right? They do more flowing stuff with it, right? But they still do very heavy work. But I wanted to see, I've been ambushing people a lot, but I wanted to see if you would be okay with some of the longevity practices to help you, like while you're training strongman, because I hate stretching and I actually don't like working out. But as long as I'm stretching, working out, and everything at the same time, I'm entertained, right?
Good.
But I was wondering if I could show you some of the things for like posture and longevity stuff, and I could film a couple, like 2 or 3 exercises, and yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
3 C's: courage, clarity, confidence, and open mind.